Welcome to the Maverick Paradox podcast, where we explore what it is to be a maverick and discover effective modes of leadership. I am Judith Germain, and my mission is to propel the maverick mindset into a world where character and integrity will ultimately have a higher premium than personality and bureaucracy. So thank you for joining me on this journey. If you would like to continue with me, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. And today, my guest is Kat McLead. How are you doing, Kat?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Judith?
I am feeling pretty cool. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you today because you've done so much. And I know that you're kind of focusing on stay-at-home mums, but I think you come at it from a very different angle. So would you like to tell me about yourself before we start?
I'm a 20-year entrepreneur. I've owned multiple six-figure businesses and created seven-figure wealth with those businesses. And my current business is focused on pampered stay-at-home moms who want fulfillment and meaning and an identity outside of being mom, but still want to be mom first. And the reason for this current business is because I am a stay-at-home mom with a 6-year-old son. And I fully plan on being mom first until he's much older and no longer needs me to be in this role.
Yeah, and I think that's really good, and there's nothing to be ashamed about that. And I think when I go networking, there's a lot of people who feel ashamed to say that they have children and they're at home and they're working from home.
I don't feel shameful about it at all. I feel extremely proud about it. I worked for this lifestyle and I created a dream life for myself despite having a very abusive background and overcoming a lot of obstacles to create this life for myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's pretty good. So you said that you had a background that you had to get through. And I know that when we talked before, you were saying that you're quite the maverick, quite the willfully independent person. What kind of mindset did you need to have to move from where you were to the success that you have today?
I had to decide on success. I really made a decision and did the steps necessary. And for anyone listening, this was extremely messy and it wasn't in a pretty linear line. There was a lot of setbacks along the way, a lot of failure. I would love to say I decided it and then it happened. It happened and progressed over a decade of me working at it to create this dream life. Over a decade of doing the mindset work, having lots of therapy, working on myself, and deciding on what success and meaningful and purposeful business and life meant for me.
You know what really triggered me there when you said you decided on success? How did you do that?
I decided that I wanted a better life for myself, that my current circumstances, starting from I did not decide it's a childhood, or maybe I did. I wanted to escape my family homes. So that was a decision. I didn't think about it as a child. In my early 20s, when I do decide on success, and I do understand it could be triggering, and I do think it's the absolute truth. When you fully decide on success, then that brings about the consistent commitment and action that it requires to move into a different place in life. And the mindset behind that is just wanting more for myself, knowing that where I was at in all those different periods of time was not where I wanted to end up, knowing that there was more for me and making that firm decision that it was going to happen. And like I said, it was not linear. There was a lot of failure, setbacks, going backwards along the way. And I can confidently say for the last decade, I have been living what most people would consider an absolute dream life.
Which is brilliant. You know, I think it's really mavericky to do that, because I think all mavericks make a decision that they're going to succeed in what they want, and they understand that failure is just that pathway to success. And it's not something to stop at because it didn't work the first time. It just means, okay, it didn't work doing that, but now I'll try this.
I 100% agree with you, and we're making it sound super simple. And for the listeners, know that it's not. I am a type A recovering control freak. Don't think that I go, oh, I messed up, I wasn't successful. Oh, well, I have been doing that more and more as I've gotten older and 20 years into entrepreneurship. And I can assure you that that's not how I felt even 10 years ago. So we're not trying to make light of it. And it still has to be within you, that firm decision that even with these setbacks that you are going to experience, know that that's just part of your path into a different way of life, into the way of life that you truly want. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be messy. If you wait for it to feel like super great and not uncomfortable, you're going to be standing still for a very long time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think mavericks tend to be quite resilient, and that's probably one of the differences as well from conformists, that they just keep going and keep going and keep going. Have kind of an unwavering, I see where the finish line is, and I'm just going to keep going even if I fall over a few times. Can I ask you though, with this business you're doing now, why do you decide to focus on the stay-at-home mums? Is it because you became one, or was there something about that group of individuals that called out to you?
It's because I'm a pampered stay-at-home mom. I fully planned on being a full-time stay-at-home mom for a minimum of a decade. And when my son entered preschool, I was finding myself sitting at home, restless, irritable, spending so much time reading stupid gossip sites on the web. It was just, I felt like I wasn't myself. I felt like something was missing. I felt irritable. And I was honest with another mom. She felt the same way. And I wound up coaching her into a gluten-free cake company that's still successful to this day. She felt great. I felt great about helping her. It was like an extra buzz. And that's how I came out of quote unquote retirement. And I did it very part-time, only taking one client at a time, maybe two at the very most, and until my son was in school full-time. And then I scaled my business.
Okay, so you took a decision to stage it and work out the kinks with the new business.
I was 100% committed to being mom first. So it wasn't nothing to do as a business situation. It was really me focusing on being a mom first and creating a high profit for the time spent business. That's all I focus on now. Because my first business was a multiple six-figure business that I ran for 5 years, but I hated it. I truly hated it. I was overworked, burned out. I did not find joy or purpose in it. I only build businesses now that feel purposeful, feel fulfilling, meaningful, and then I marry that with high profit.
Okay, so how do you do that then? So how does somebody go to a six-figure business? What are the steps that they need to take?
My focus right now is not necessarily building a six-figure business for my pampered stay-at-home moms. That's not necessarily what they are looking for. I do have some online clients that is what they're looking for because they are wanting to leave corporate and transition into having more of a stay-at-home mom lifestyle so they can be there to raise their kids. And that looks like, for one of my clients, that looks like taking a software program that she is very familiar with and packaging that in a way where she can work 4 days a month and replicate her corporate salary.
That sounds absolutely amazing. Is there some sort of stepped process for people to follow, or is it unique to every new business?
It's unique. I have people in all different industries, as I just mentioned, from gluten-free baking all the way to software as a service. And I take the individual and we look at all their skills, their passions, their gifts, what they used to do, and incorporate all of their strengths. And my brain can just kind of pare down and go deeper and see what's going to fit after 20 years of entrepreneurship. And I learned to be a business coach in my graduate school program. For my second year of graduate school, I chose to help women transition out of the sex industry. It was a difficult population, and I had to think about high profit business for the time spent because these women were used to making hundreds, if not thousands of dollars an hour. So that's how I actually developed the current framework that I still use this day for my pampered stay-at-home moms. we still have our full-time mom jobs that we don't get paid for, yet we want to earn high profit for the time spent. So it actually, that framework worked seamlessly into my current life now. So like I said, my moms currently, we're all pampered. We don't need to make six figures. Yet one of my clients, she was a lawyer for the city of Los Angeles. It was inflexible, her work schedule. She did not want to miss out on raising her 3 kids. So we narrowed her business down to a subset of immigration law that is well needed in Los Angeles. And she works 2 days a week while the kids are in school, and she makes more than the US average income. This is just another example of people taking the skills that they had, paring it down to the subset of their business idea that's going to make them the most profit for the time spent, yet being able to be mom first.
That sounds like the ultimate dream.
It is. That's what I said. I created a dream life for myself. And myself, I am at that mark, making high income for the time spent. I love what I do. I help amazing women regain their identity and do fulfilling and meaningful work, helping others with their talents and their gifts and their skills.
So if someone's listening and they're like, okay, what is it that they need to be? What's the kind of mindset do they need to get to that point? And are there any kind of steps, sort of generic steps they should be thinking about?
The mindset is deciding on success, like you and I both talked about. And then the 4 main key steps of a successful business are nailing your right business idea. And you did ask me how I do that. I do that one-on-one. I'm doing it in a group setting currently, and I will be making a self-study course for that because I want that to be available for everyone. So nailing your right business idea is step 1. Step 2 is crafting the right offer. This is the offer that your audience, your customers really want. And the only way to know that, you don't want to guess. You want to talk to your people. You need to hear it from their own words. A lot of business failure is because people start businesses that nobody wants. This needs to be tested before you ever launch your business. Then package yourself right so that you are high profit for the time spent. If you are a busy mom or anybody who's listening, you want to package yourself like a boutique, not like a Walmart that needs a lot of customers or clients to have any kind of profit margin. And if you look at, Walmart is like one of those big superstores in the US. I realize that people over the pond love to come over and shop in. Their profit margins are going down every year, trying to service all these people at such a low profit margin. And finally, it's acquiring clients. And that's done by doing all the nailing your right business idea, crafting your right offer, packaging your services in a really appealing way where their results are given, and then talking to your people, being in front of them, connecting with them, making them understand your value and how you can solve their problems for them.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Part of what I do is similar to that. And one of the things that I've noticed, certainly with the people that I've done work with, is there's a reluctance to go out and test. So you work out what the proposition is and you talk about how you narrate that. But then you get to a point where it says, before you can really hone it properly down, you need to go out and test to find out if people really want this thing. Or it's what you said you're doing is really resonating, and there seems to be a reluctance to actually go and test. Do you find that, or is that something that's more unique to the British market?
100%. As a matter of fact, it's required when you work with me that you must perform market research. And it is the piece that I get the most pushback on. People want to cheat. They want to make little questionnaires. They want to send out text messages. I require them to record phone calls or be face-to-face with people, because you must hear what your audience wants. Yeah. If you are afraid to ask your audience questions, how are you going to get in front of them to sell to them? I do understand that it is mindset work, being visible. There is stuff surrounding it. I totally get it. And I have found that this is the piece that makes almost every one of my people resistant. Yet this is the most important piece of your business pretty much, because if you don't craft the right offer, it's going to be so difficult to get clients.
Yes, and I've noticed that there's a propensity to have kind of a generic thing, and you're like, that's not going to work. You need to be much more specific about what you do and how you do it. You can't just say, I'm an accountant or web designer, because that's the same as everybody else.
That just is going to fall on deaf ears. A lot of my clients come to me after months, if not years, struggling with that kind of marketing plan. Very generic, nothing to do with what their people actually want to hire them for. What is the problem that you're solving? What is the problem that your audience has that you can solve, and that you're going to make go away? That's when people buy from you. Either something extremely pleasurable, which is a harder sale, or something's painful enough for them to buy so that you make the problem go away.
Yeah, and one of the things that you were saying earlier is about working with people who are unfulfilled. And I was just wondering about that, because I feel that there's a lot of people who are unfulfilled but don't know that's what their problem is. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying. I do feel like people who are in unfulfilling positions, they have some idea of that because they want something better. Now, they might ignore it. They might quiet it down. They might drink or eat it away or go scrolling on Facebook instead of doing their work. And if you are sitting doing your work and you find yourself wishing you were doing anything but on a regular basis, we're not talking about a one-off day, then that is signs that you're not feeling fulfilled. If there is a part of you repeatedly going, I cannot believe this is my life, there must be more than this, that is another great sign that you are not feeling fulfilled. And it's time to add in fulfilling activities. It doesn't mean you need to make an extreme change. I think that's where people get locked up. If they admit it, they feel like they must do an extreme 180, and that's not the case. Actually, people do much better taking very small steps, adding in more fulfillment. So adding in what is going to feel good, or shifting the way you think about it to make it feel better.
So was that something that happened with the high-earning sex workers that you were transitioning? Because you were saying that they were earning a lot of money anyway, and then they were moving into running different types of businesses. And was that because they were realizing that they were unfulfilled and had to make the shift?
Oh, yes. Most of them, I can't speak for all of them, but most of my specific clients had been wanting to leave the industry for a while before they became clients with me. I did not do long-term follow-up on their satisfaction. I do know that by the end of our work together, I had success stories, or they had success stories of running businesses that felt so much more in integrity with them, and that's a success. Even when I was leaving my first business where I was making multiple six figures, but I just wasn't feeling purposeful and meaningful, it was a slow progression. I started adding in meaningful things to myself, even outside of work. I started doing yoga. I started researching other things. I started reading business books outside of my given industry, and it was a slow progression. Nothing has to be immediate because that feels too jarring and scary. It can be a slow add-in. And if you are at your wit's end, sometimes things are immediate. Sometimes it is, I can't do this any longer, I'm done.
That makes sense. So what mindset shift did they need to make? Did they go from a situation where the new business instantly earned the same amount of money, or if they had to go to less money, what mindset did they need to shift down to?
Almost always they had to go to less money, in that their former professions made a lot of money, and that had to be okay. The desire to leave and create a new life for themselves had to outweigh that loss of income. And as we all know who are business owners, most businesses are not overnight successes. There's rarely that unicorn that becomes an overnight success. I tell my clients to expect your success to build over a minimum of 6 months to a year, and then more so after the 3, 5, 10-year mark. Even Amazon took 10 years to become profitable, and the the founder, Jeff, knew that that was going to be the case. He knew Amazon was going to lose money for the 10 years. Patience is the way to build a highly successful business.
You know what? I love that as a quote. Because I do think that a lot of people start up and think that, you know, they will be an overnight success without realizing that the people that who they see as an overnight success has been going on for years and years and years and years.
Yes, you can look at a graph. I just happened to be reading Forbes on, I think, Friday night, and they showcased Jeff Bezos's wealth. And if you look at the graph, there is like over a decade where that wealth was almost flat. Now, it was still good wealth. Let's not be crazy, but then it hockey sticked up. I can't remember what the final number was, but it was something like 160 something billion dollars, and it's an extreme hockey stick. And it's just the same kind of graph as most successful businesses. If you go into your business thinking that within 6 months or a year, you need to have X results, then that is not a good sign for success. Really, most traction in businesses, and this is just the unsexy truth, takes a minimum of 3 to 5 years to even begin getting traction. Yes, we know of those some unicorns, and we also know some unicorns die really quickly, where they are overnight successes, and then a year later they're not around. Most businesses that are successful is the slow and steady model of, I guess, we'll look at Jeff Bezos's wealth.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that people should be more upfront then with people are just starting, and they should be saying, if you are going to remain passionate with your business, then you need to pick something that you know you want to spend 3 to 5 years doing, or don't bother? I don't think anybody's maverick enough really who's actually saying it.
Well, you are meeting your first maverick enough to say it, because that is exactly what I say. I actually just did a live training for my group program last Wednesday saying the same thing and using the same graph from Jeff Bezos. I just saw that. Oh, no, I brought that in later, but I brought up the same topic. And that's why when I was reading Forbes and I saw the Jeff Bezos picture, it stuck in my head enough to take a screenshot of it, because I had already brought it up, because this is just how most businesses unfold. And I tell my people that overnight success is not a good model to look at. It will actually create more upset and that needy, grabby, desperate energy that repels clients. And I know people like this. I have people in my group program that are like this, and I would never want to work with them one-on-one. Like that superbly desperate, like, I need to make multiple 6 figures in a year when I've never owned a business and don't know what I'm doing, but let me just give me the answers and show me the way. It's very repelling, and that's going to repel business success and clients if you go into business with that energy. It's way better to understand that business is grown over the long term. All those successful businesses, almost all of them, you're just seeing the hockey stick part. You're not seeing that the 5 to 10 year ramp up for that business.
Yeah, and I think, with help and support, people can accelerate, because you're helping, people like you and me are helping people to eradicate some of those silly mistakes that you don't need to make. But yeah, for somebody who feels that they're going to make a substantial amount of money in less than a year is unrealistic, unless what they have and the skills that they have is pretty unique and much needed.
That's accurate. I have had clients that have gotten filled. I mean, these are the unicorns. And I have had a client who filled up her practice within 3 weeks of us beginning work together after trying on her own for months. She needed tweaking with her right business idea and how to reach her network. When she got those pieces in gear, she was able to fill up her practice. But that's because she only wanted X amount of people, because she wanted to be mom first. Now, the other person who does software, she has a skill that you can charge a lot of money for. So for her, she is on track for a 6-figure year. However, I don't usually take clients who are only they have to reach this number to be okay with themselves. I'm really about fulfillment and meaningful work. And in the long run, you're going to be more successful and make more money with that approach.
So your methodology, and in fact, the very things we've been discussing today is applicable to any type of business, isn't it? It's not just for stay-at-home mums.
It's applicable to any business because it all boils down to nailing your right business idea, an idea that's going to make you profit. You'd be surprised, Jude, how many people start businesses that from the outside you can be like, how could you think that was going to bring in good profit? Examples of this are, there's a lot of moms who get trapped into doing things like mom blogs. Now, I know there are a handful of bloggers who do make a lot of money, but statistically speaking, only 8% of the top bloggers make more than $2,000 a month, and over 60-something% make less than $105 a month. And this is for hours and hours of content. This is not an overnight way to make six figures. It's just another example of that unicorn story. So I kind of lost my train of thought. I'll be honest, but the bottom line is it's not an overnight success, but it doesn't mean that you can't have quick wins along the way or steady clients along the way or slowly be growing your business along the way. I don't want to have people thinking that. You can definitely be making money along the way. It's just that if you're focused only on hitting multiple six figures and it at all costs, that's not going to result in a great business. My first business was a multiple six-figure business, and I was a unicorn in that regard. It's not like I had a lot of business training. I made mistakes. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had that. I had a great business idea, and I crafted the right offer, and I got clients. And that doesn't always happen. For most people, it's a slower progression to success.
Yeah, and the groundwork needs to be done, isn't it? So there's a lot of foundational work that needs to be done. So, like you were saying, the very basic first step about what's the proposition, not what's the marketing thing that sounds nice, but what really is it that you do, and how does that align with your values, and how you're going to demonstrate what that means. That can take a long time to really hone that down into something that will work. And I find that sometimes people don't want to do that hard. You know, they want to do it for a couple of hours and then go, right, I can go off now and just sell it. And it's like, yeah, but if anybody asks you a question, you can't say what it is that you do because you still don't really know.
You have to be the expert in your field if you want people to look at you as the expert and buy from you. They have to be confident in that, and that comes from you knowing your audience inside and out. And the easiest way to start a business is looking at the audiences that you have around you or have access to and really hearing them, really knowing them, knowing what they want, what their pain points are, what they truly desire, and then meeting that. As long as you have the skill to meet that, that's where success can really grow from.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that you are a maverick, someone who's willfully independent, and that's why you have been successful multiple times?
I am woefully independent. I have been an entrepreneur since I was a child. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was the child buying 10-cent lollipops from the grocery store and selling them for a quarter at school. I did this for many years. I am independent. I am not employable. I do not do good with being told what to do and having to work on somebody else's schedule and being held down in any way.
So how did you harness all that maverick energy into something that would work rather than hinder you?
I missed the last part of what you said. What did you say?
Sorry. Rather than hinder you, make it difficult. Yeah.
I didn't know any different. That's the truth. I don't know. I can't say 100% trust myself. I can tell you when my gut tells me to do something, I do it. I still feel scared. It doesn't feel comfortable, and I do it anyways. And success is in that discomfort. You will not find success feeling comfortable. You find success on that other side of your fear and having the ability to do it anyways. And that's just something that definitely ground into. I feel the fear and I pretty much just say, screw it and do it anyways.
It's quite funny. I recently recorded a podcast, and that came up quite strongly with Mavericks. I was like, you certainly feel the fear, but you just go, you know what, I want it anyway, so I'm doing it. I don't care, and not being stopped. I guess it's like Mavericks don't see obstacles; they see hurdles on a running track. You know, just something to get over to get to where you need to be, as opposed to something to stop and ponder at.
Exactly. If you let things stop you, then it's going to be very tough to be successful. And we all feel that fear. You can kind of trick yourself into just believing that it's excitement, because it's very close. That fear and excitement is very similar. So the first time I did a podcast interview, I was shaking. I mean, really shaking. And now I'm just totally relaxed on podcast interviews. When you do whatever it is that's fearful, that is on your track to success, that you feel fear about, when you do it enough, it stops being fearful. It just is what it is. When I first did a first live training, I was really fearful. My heart rate was beating crazy. And now I could go live right now and have no reaction in my body about it besides excitement.
Brilliant. Okay, I think we're almost at an end there. I just got a final question for you. What tips would you give someone for them to learn how to break out of unfulfillment?
I would recommend that you add in something fulfilling into your life for a minimum of 15 to 30 minutes every single day. Put this in your calendar and allow yourself this fulfillment, this fulfilling activity. What that looks like for you, I don't know. That could be a walk in the woods, a swim, a dip in the ocean, whatever you have in your surroundings that can allow that for you. That could be playing an instrument, listening to music, meditating, doing some kind of physical activity, reading a business book that brings you pleasure, something that adds into your life and allowing that to fill up a space in you and allow you to want more for yourself, desire more, and fill you up enough to take action on that voice that wants more.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And this has been a really good conversation. Would you come back on another time and delve into another topic?
Oh, I would love to do that with you, Judith.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you once again for tuning into the Maverick Paradox podcast. I hope you have enjoyed listening to my conversation with Kat as much as I enjoy having it. If you'd like to learn more about Mavericks and leadership, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. Alternatively, apply to join the Maverick Paradox exclusive Facebook group. To learn all about Mavericks, go to my website, maverickparadox.com. To learn about Mavericks at work, go to my website, maverickparadox.co.uk. Find out how willful independence can ultimately change all our futures. Thanks again, and see you soon.